Welcome to this explainer. Imagine, just for a second, that you rule almost all of Europe. Your enemies absolutely fear your name. Your armies have won battle after battle across the continent, and you're widely considered the greatest military genius in history. Now, imagine all of that just gone. In one single day, everything you've built over a lifetime literally comes crashing down.
An empire collapses. A legend is defeated. We're talking about a sudden, catastrophic fall from absolute power. History changed forever in a matter of hours. This is the true story of the Battle of Waterloo, the single day that Napoleon Bonaparte lost absolutely everything.
So how did the greatest military genius in history lose everything in just one day? I mean, it sounds completely impossible, right? A guy who conquered nations, outsmarted brilliant generals, built a massive empire just completely undone in 24 hours. Okay, let's dive into this and uncover exactly how this rapid collapse happened.
Part 1. The Impossible Comeback.
To truly understand this catastrophic fall, we first have to look at the incredibly dramatic backstory that set the whole stage. The year is 1815, and Napoleon had already done what everyone thought was absolutely impossible. He had been defeated and exiled to the island of Elba. But, well, he didn't exactly stay there. He executes this daring escape right back to France, and in one of history's most insane moments, when a regiment of French soldiers is sent to arrest him, Napoleon simply steps out in front of them, bares his chest, and basically dares them to shoot their emperor. And what do? They drop their weapons and join him. Within weeks, thousands of soldiers flock back to his side. The reaction across the continent was sheer terror. Kings and emperors panicked, and Europe decided they had to unite for one final battle to stop him once and for all.
Part 2. One Fateful Day, June 18, 1815.
That massive united pushback brings us directly to a small village in present-day Belgium called Waterloo. The stage was set for the ultimate showdown, with nearly 190,000 soldiers converging on this one location. And this brilliantly illustrates just how massive this was. This wasn't some minor skirmish, it was a massive convergence of three formidable forces. You had the Duke of Wellington commanding the Anglo-Allied army, Field Marshal von Blücher leading the Prussians, and Napoleon's own Armée du Nord. The entire fate of Europe was packed into this single, massive confrontation.
Part 3. The Muddy Mistake.
But as anyone who studies history knows, even the most brilliant military mind cannot control the environment. Napoleon's strategy was textbook: strike fast and defeat Wellington's forces before Blücher's Prussians could march in and fully unite against him. It was a desperate race against the clock. But reality clashed violently with that plan. A massive delay occurred caused entirely by the weather. The ticking clock of this single day had just been intercepted by nature itself.
Heavy rain, deep mud, the battlefield had literally turned into a swamp. And for Napoleon, this wasn't just, an inconvenience. It was a tactical nightmare. Napoleon relied heavily on artillery. It was his greatest advantage, but the deep mud meant his incredibly heavy cannons couldn't be efficiently maneuvered into position. Even worse, the mud totally neutralized the physics of his attack. See, cannonballs were meant to hit hard ground and violently bounce through enemy lines, taking out dozens of men at a time. But in this thick mud, the cannonballs would just sink. They got completely swallowed up. Because of this, Napoleon was forced to make a fatal choice. He delayed his attack until nearly midday, just hoping the ground would dry out enough to use his guns.
Step 1. Heavy rain creates deep mud. Step 2. Napoleon delays the attack. Step 3. Prussian forces gain time to march. That heavy rain forced a delay, and those specific lost hours handed the Prussian forces the exact time they needed to desperately march toward the battlefield and join Wellington's defense. The vital element of speed, which was the entire core of Napoleon's plan, was completely gone.
Part 4. An empire collapses. The clock had ticked down, the ground was what it was, and the battle finally began. French troops pushed forward. Cannons thundered across the fields. Thousands of soldiers charged across the muddy terrain. And for a fleeting moment in the afternoon, victory actually seemed possible for Napoleon. But then the delayed consequences arrived. Just as the French are pushing their absolute hardest, the Prussians arrive on their flank. Suddenly, Napoleon isn't fighting one army, he is fighting two armies at once. The pressure is immense. The decisive turning point hits when Napoleon sends in his elite, previously undefeated Imperial Guard, only to see them shockingly repelled. Seeing the unbeatable Guard fall back, panic completely takes over the French ranks. What had looked just hours earlier like a potential victory transformed into a complete and utter disaster. Part 5.
The final exile.
By the time the sun began to set, the smoke cleared to reveal a harsh new reality. Napoleon's legendary army was utterly defeated. Thousands of soldiers lay dead or wounded in the mud. The empire he had miraculously rebuilt just weeks prior was finished. Days later, recognizing it was truly over, Napoleon surrendered to the British. His first exile was to the island of Elba. That was relatively close to Europe, which kind of allowed for his impossible comeback. But look at the stark contrast of his second exile, the remote island of St. Helena in the South Atlantic. They made absolutely sure there would be no second chance. He was sent far from Europe, far from power, and he would never return.
So the crucial point is this. The Battle of Waterloo didn't just end the rule of one man. It ended an entire era of European warfare. It is genuinely astonishing to think about how much hinged on such small technical margins. One rainy day, one delayed attack waiting for the mud to dry to use the artillery, and one united alliance changed the course of world history forever.
Today, more than 200 years later, Napoleon still remains one of history's greatest military minds. But I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. If even the greatest conquerors, the most brilliant minds, with absolute power, eventually face the one enemy they cannot defeat itself, what does that mean for the empires of today? It's an incredible reminder that no matter how powerful an empire is, it can all be lost in a single day. If you enjoyed this dive into cinematic history, forgotten battles, and the true stories that shaped our world, make sure to subscribe to this Explainer series because history has so many more incredible stories waiting to be uncovered. Thanks for hanging out with us today.